ever met someone and felt an instant connection? Or maybe you've had the opposite experience where no matter what you've tried, and despite wanting that connection just never really clicked. While it might seem that some individuals are good at establishing rapport or that connection naturally, building that rapport isn't just about luck or coincidence or even natural or innate ability. It's actually a skill, one that you can work on developing and apply into any conversation. Let's dive in today and see how we can make those connections happen more naturally. Today, we're talking about rapport, what it is, why it's the foundation of any meaningful connection or conversation, and how you can build it into any conversation. Before we dive in on how to build that rapport, let's talk about what rapport actually is and why it's essential for any business success. Rapport is the foundation of strong professional relationships. It's that sense of connection and that trust that you build with others, whether it's a client or a prospective client, a colleague, or a business partner. Why does it matter? Because when rapport is present, and this is super important, communication flows more easily, collaboration becomes smoother, and trust, which is vital for any relationship, paves the way for long-term success and a more sustainable relationship. Think of rapport as being the bridge between you and that person that you're engaging with. It helps you navigate differences, solve problems together, and achieve shared and hopefully mutually beneficial goals. My name is Sonia Sethi-Kohli, and today, along with my Connect to Engage colleagues, Adrienne Wallace, and Marie Strauss, and Jen Murphy, today we're going to share 3 actionable tips to build rapport, whether you're networking, collaborating, or managing client relationships. Adrienne's going to start us off with our first tip.
All right, so let's talk about the foundation of rapport, and that's showing genuine interest in the other person. Dale Carnegie wrote a book back in 1936. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's actually one of the most popular self-help books of all times. It's sold over 30 million copies, and almost 100 years later, it's still very relevant to making those meaningful business connections today. One of my favorite quotes from the book is, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." So it's really about putting the spotlight on the other person and letting them know that you're interested in what they have to say. So building rapport in business begins with making people feel valued, like they're important. For example, if you're at a networking event, instead of asking a generic question like, "What do you do?" If you're in a room with business owners, you might ask, "What inspired you to start your business?" So questions like this will show that you're actually interested and also encourage that person to open up. You might be surprised at how much they share with you in regards to their personal story. Last week, actually, I attended a business networking event in my community, and I was experimenting with asking different questions and seeing how that shaped the trajectory of our conversations. For those of you that may find this a little bit intimidating, think about preparing some questions in advance before you get to those events, so you already know what you might want to say, so you have a little bit more confidence going into it. I noticed as I was walking around the room that some people looked like they wanted to talk, but didn't really know what to say, like they were a little shy. So I was able to initiate the conversation and then help to take the pressure off that other person a little bit. So maybe you can take a moment and think back to the last time you connected with a colleague or even a client. Did you ask any questions that led to a deeper, more meaningful conversation? And take note of those questions. What types of questions did you ask? And then you can use those again in the future. So once we've opened the conversation with a thoughtful question, the next step is to find common ground. And Anne-Marie is going to walk us through that next.
Thank you, Adrienne. Building relationships and rapport is all about finding what you have in common. This is a powerful tool for connecting with other people and building trust. So when meeting someone new, a potential client, a business connection, listen. Listen and stay in tune with what they're saying. Maybe the conversation relates to business, but maybe that connection comes at a more personal level. You come from the same state, live in the same town, have a colleague or a friend in common, enjoy the same favorite pastimes or sports. Whatever it may be, listen and find a way to connect based on what the other person is saying. If they mention a challenge, for example, you could say, I understand your frustration, and maybe share an experience that represents that. For example, I've encountered a similar issue in my profession. I had a client who was frustrated because they were excluded from conversations in business meetings. They felt that it was because they were not understood. The individual knew they spoke quickly, and their nervousness was very evident in these meetings. They took steps to improve their rate of speech, use pausing to slow down, be better understood, and add impact to what they were saying. And before you know it, they were included in the discussions more regularly. Because of this, their frustration was reduced. They felt valued and recognized, and it was a positive experience. And then ask the person, how does this compare with your experience? And what maybe brainstorm together? How could we find ways to reduce your frustration? But even if you don't share a specific challenge, you can always empathize. Let the other person know that you can relate to what they're feeling. If the other person, for example, indicates that they just started a new role or a position, you might empathize with them and say, I remember being new to my position as well. What's been your biggest learning curve so far? Ask them for their input, their experience, and let them expand on their emotions and feelings that you can relate back to with them. Empathy and shared experiences foster a sense of connection, even when circumstances differ. Building on that is how you build that likability, that trust, that connection, the rapport that we are speaking about today. With rapport established, the next step is to reinforce with body language. And Jen is going to tell us more about that.
Yeah, thank you. So, in a professional setting, body language speaks volumes. And actually, research shows that over 50% of the meaning of that message comes from your body language. It's pretty remarkable. So, when you're meeting with a client, I want you to slightly lean forward and maintain eye contact. What that does is it shows engagement and interest. And if you compare that to like leaning back and your arms are folded and your body is closed, what message does that send? It sends the opposite message. Recently, I was working with a client and we were in person. And as we spoke, he looked off in the distance. He looked around my head. He looked kind of towards the ground. And I'm thinking, where is he looking? What? There was absolutely no connection. And so when I explained to him that eye contact improves that connection and empowers that connection, he was, first of all, he was shocked that he wasn't giving eye contact. He thought he was, which is remarkable. And so that ability to have that awareness was key. And then when we worked on it, which was hard for him because he wasn't used to it, his message was more clear and more engaged, and I was more interested in what he had to say. So I really want you to think about relaxing your arms, angling your body towards the person, closing that distance between you. maintaining eye contact, and then nodding to show that you're interested and that you're listening. Experiment with these techniques in your next meeting or client interaction. And then I think that you'll notice how those nonverbal cues enhance your connection.
So let's tie together what we've covered. Here is a recap of the 3 key tips we shared to help you build stronger connections and build that rapport. So here are the 3 tips. Remember to
show genuine interest by asking thoughtful, open-ended questions.
Find common ground through shared experiences and empathy.
Reinforce your connection using positive body language.
Now, as you implement these tips, tell us how they worked for you. Did showing genuine interest, finding that common ground, or improving your body language make a difference in your professional interactions? We hope so, and we would love to hear from you. So please share your experiences in the comments. Don't forget to follow us for more expert tips here at Connect to Engage, and then join us for our next episode of Connect to Engage, where we'll explore more strategies to elevate your professional communication skills. See you next time. Thanks for spending time with us.